Peace, fam. It is Ben, and welcome to today's practice, which is a mellow stretching session. So, what today's practice is going to be is close to the ground, slow movement, and I'll basically just be cueing a series of stretches that will hold anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 or 3 minutes on the long end. And this has a little bit of a focus on the hips and opening the heart, but really it's a total body and total being experience. Props that might be helpful. You don't need anything. You can do this with just yourself and a practice space, but also 2 blocks and a bolster or a pillow type thing are potentially helpful. Okay, let's begin this practice actually into a wide-legged seated forward fold. So you can do this facing whatever direction you want. I'm going to move my props out of the way. And then we're going to start out just kind of shifting around. Shifting around, maybe closing the eyes. I just got a little sparkling water here. I got a little music in my ears. And definitely feel free to put on some slow music if you want. I recommend something instrumental, something mellow. Close the eyes, tune into the breath. You can start to move towards stillness, or you can keep shifting around. I'm going to go ahead and take my bolster in front of me, and I'm just going to lean my arms onto it, and I'm going to breathe. And I'm doing a type of stretching called PNF stretching. It's kind of the technical name. I can't remember what PNF stands for, but it's PNF stretching. And basically what it is a occasional firing up of the muscles. So I'm in this deep stretch. I'm relaxing into this stretch. No effort. And then for maybe 3 breaths, I'll activate my muscles. And I'll do that by flexing the toes back, engaging the quad muscles. And so my leg muscles are engaged. And then after 3 breaths or so, I'll just relax and kind of find ease. And that kind of stretching feels good to me because it feels safe to keep my muscles involved every now and then. And there's just a few more moments here in our opening position. Start to lift up. And we're going to start windshield wipering the legs. So fun, my cat just walked over because he loves condensation. So since this is a can of cold sparkling water, he just wants to lick the condensation off. Should I let him do it? I usually don't let him because it's kind of weird. It's kind of annoying, but I'll let him do it for a minute. Just don't lick on the inside of the can. All right, so we're just doing windshield wipers. Sorry, I'll get distracted easily sometimes. Just begin windshield wipering the legs back and forth. And you could do this with the arms supporting you from behind, or you could just do this sitting up without the arms. It's a little bit more active that way, but both ways are great. We're just doing this to gain a little bit of mobility and a little bit of joint rotation before our next stretch, which is coming up in a second. All right, so go ahead and just go to one side. We don't really have a forward or back of our mat today. Let's take a 90-90 position or a deer pose. So both knees bend considerably, and we'll fold over the front leg. We'll do our half pigeon as well in this class. So if you're like, oh, I don't like this variation, I like half pigeon more, just maybe try to stick with me, take more of a 90-90, and then we'll do the half pigeon as well. We'll leave space for both. So fold. And what's nice is that this, for most people, I would say, not all, but most, this is probably a more easeful variation than half pigeon. So I think this is going to open up space nicely. And the good thing about doing both is, I'm not sure if you can see my exact stance right now, but my front leg, I like to keep my front leg at a 90-degree angle to really start to stretch into the outer line of the leg. Whereas when I do half pigeon, this knee is goes from a 90-degree angle down to closer to a 45-degree angle, which stretches more of the glute and outer hip. So the angle of the leg does change which muscles are primarily targeted. And in my mind, if we have the time, why not have both? Why make the choice when we can have both? Everywhere we go today, I'm going to invite all of us to slow down the breath, to slow down the mind. It takes time to release tension out of the body. We can't just hold these poses for one breath and expect anything to happen. In fact, studies have shown, studies that my teachers have shared with me have been shown that really the way to flexibility, if our goal is to build flexibility, which it may or may not be for you, then we should be holding poses for longer than 3 minutes, because longer than 3 minutes is when our nervous systems generally start to tune much deeper into the parasympathetic state. And when our nervous systems drop into the parasympathetic or the restorative and restful state, that's where our body becomes more receptive to muscle adaptations, meaning letting ourselves go further into our joint range of motion. Maybe you can start to feel that on this stretch. New space opening up as we spend time here. Yes, because of the physical body, but also feeling the energetic body, feeling the nervous system calm and restore. Start to lift up. Take a few windshield wipers just to clear out a little space and to bring awareness into the right side versus the left side. Eventually just rock this over to the other side. Take it on side 2. Try to find somewhat of a similar set of joint angles in this side as the last side. It's okay if they're a little bit different. And so for me, I start out a little more upright. This is actually as much as I can fold forward in this moment. And you'll see I kind of like to bring my foot into my arm a little bit just because it feels tactile and it allows me to feel in control. But really, I start out a little more upright. Sometimes I even sit all the way up. And then over the course of our time here, I will gradually take myself a little bit deeper into the expression. But it just happens intuitively. What's important in these more yin-like practices is we don't fight the body, we listen to it. We don't push the body, we react to it. Everything comes from a place of love and from centeredness and from egoless expression of doing an embodied practice. There's beauty in the breath. The song that I currently have playing in my ears is called Alive and Well by Jhené Aiko. I highly recommend Alive and Well by Jhené Aiko. Really calm vibe. It's just her soothing voice. She's got some singing bowls, crystal singing bowls that she's playing in there. Alright, we won't have that much longer here. And one thing I've really been doing to bring myself peace lately is I've been changing what I've been listening to. I've been listening to more instrumental music, and the music that has words that I listen to, I choose it a little bit more carefully. I'm a little bit more aware of the messages that I'm listening to, and we can start to lift up when you're ready. Even when sometimes we just listen to music for the vibe, for the energy, and we're not really paying attention to lyrics, but I feel like it still gets into the mind. Do some windshield wipers here. And so listening to more soothing music, listening to more meditative music, listening to more just natural instruments being played instead of these songs that are designed to kind of hype us up all the time. It's like, yeah, if you're getting ready to go do some lifting weights, or you got to pump yourself up, do what you got to do. But otherwise, we should be reminding our bodies that we're calm, and sound is one big energetic component that we have to use to our advantage. All right, so from here, come back to a wide-legged fold just for a second. We're not holding it this time, but just go ahead and find a fold to come back to that space that we took at the very beginning of class. Take about 4 or 5 breaths here, and then we'll move on. All right, as you lift up, let's cross the legs, left shin in front of right shin, fold forward. Just a few breaths here. We're not holding this for minutes or anything, just a few breaths. Come back up, switch the cross in the legs, right shin in front this time. And then fold forward. Again, just a few breaths. Lift up, and as you lift up, we'll actually use our props here. We'll come into a supported bridge pose. And as we come into supported bridge, you could use a block for this, or you could use a bolster or a pillow. You could use any prop. You could use a stack of 2 or 3 books. Prop goes under the hips. Support underneath the pelvis. I like to support the tailbone. Extend your legs long and allow the hips to be your highest point in this supported bridge. You could even reach your arms overhead if you want. Close your eyes, slow down your breath. Let this be Shavasana-like. Some people like to intensify this by putting multiple props and lifting their hips up higher. I like to take a pretty mellow version of this, but that's also because this already feels like a pretty good stretch in my lower back. So I don't necessarily need to intensify. So take a few more breaths here. Let the breaths be long and slow and deep. Start to bend the knees, bring the feet back in. Place the bolster over to the side, and let's do a laying down twist. So let's hug the left knee in, and then we'll guide the left leg across the body into a twist. And I'm just kind of looking around to make sure I don't knock over my drink. And if you want, you can even extend your left leg and grab the outer edge of the foot. Slow down, be in this twist. Let each breath take a while. Release and switch sides. Release. Come back through center. Come back up. Downward facing dog. Now down dog is theoretically a more active pose, not quite a restorative shape, but it's still good to bring a little awareness back into things, bring a little bit of energy back into our body, just to make sure we don't drift off into sleep or anything. From here we go to half pigeon. Do whatever side you want, otherwise right leg to the sky, then step the right foot through. Take your half pigeon. Feel free to use a cushion or a block under your right hip. And then start out by sitting up tall into your half pigeon. Feel your left hip rotating forward and down. Your heart lifting. Maybe a little bit of an energy of a back bend, rolling the shoulders back and down. Sitting up with good posture. Stay in this upright pigeon as long as you like, and then join fold forward when you're ready to. I'm going to stay here upright for another few breaths, and then I'm going to fold forward. Start to lift up. Maybe you spend another moment in this upright pigeon before fully releasing. Just give yourself space for one more breath. And then back to downward facing dog. From down dog, move into your half pigeon on the other side. Stay upright for as long as you like. Eventually, when you feel ready, take a forward fold. Again, right hip rolls forward and down. We'll lift up. We'll lean back. We'll return to downward facing dog. Give yourself a couple breaths here. Feeling the slow, deep breaths, feeling the calm energy just from being in this slower moving space for the last 25 minutes or so. Come down to a seated position. Sit on the shins for a moment. Just sit in meditation, sit up tall, and let this opportunity to sit on the shins be a stretch for the shins, for the top of the feet. We're not here for too long. Okay, this is where we have another heart opening position. We'll come into supported fish pose. I'm going to do a mellow version of this with my bolster. And so the way I'll do this with the bolster is I'll just sit up right against it and then I'll lay down onto it, right? But make sure to sit right up against it. You could also do this with 2 blocks. So you would lay down on 2 blocks. And if my head was on this side, basically 1 block would go in between your shoulder blades, and this could be on the medium setting or the low setting. The other block would be behind your head. I often like same height for between your shoulder blades and behind your head. Some people like 1 block to be higher, one way or the other. It's kind of customizable, but I say start with either same height or take your head a little bit higher if you want to. Right. And if you don't have if you don't have any props with you, take Shavasana. Lie flat on your back. Right. Don't just leave and end the practice. Lie flat on your back. Do something laying on your back, whether it's fish pose or not. You could do whatever you want with your legs here. You could do Baddha Konasana legs, feet together, knees out wide. You can really do whatever you want with the arms too. Palms facing up is nice. Arms a little wider can be nice. Alright, so my friends, I'm personally going to stay here for about 5 minutes. What's going to happen about 2 minutes is that the camera will stop recording and the class will end. So this is going to be the end of our class, and I'll be with you here for as long as the video goes on. And then you can stay as long as you want. Whenever you feel complete, you can then get up and slowly proceed. But I'll go ahead and really just drop into this position. If you're in supported fish and it starts to feel like a lot at any point, just go ahead and remove the props and lay flat on your back. No matter what, end the practice in Shavasana laying flat on your back for at least a minute or so, whether or not you're doing this fish pose. I'll go ahead and say my goodbye right now. Thank you so much for joining me on this stretching journey, on this more peaceful, restorative, yin-like practice. It's always a blessing to share space, whether it's a more active practice or one like today where we're really just aiming to nourish our spirit a little bit. I'm very grateful you're here. I'm happy to have you, and I hope to see you and practice with you again soon. Much peace, much love, many blessings as always.